Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Hashim Warren, and this video is about how to write a decent content marketing strategy. So, we all know that content marketing is powerful. Businesses are hopping onto content marketing because they see that content marketing plus other tactics, offline and online, advertising and PR, is very powerful. It's the way that we can gain customers, keep customers, and also position ourselves in the marketplace to make business happen. So we all know that content marketing is powerful. However, if you start a content marketing program, whether for a client or for your own business, you quickly find out that content marketing is also complicated. So I work in content marketing, and I've also been working in media for years, and I find it complicated myself. If you sit down and try to write a content marketing plan, there's many things that you have to work out. And that's not specific to content marketing. Actually, marketing itself is complicated. There are so many tactics and strategies that you can use. There are so many books coming out every year. There are so many blogs that give pieces of advice. There are so many experts within an organization or experts that you listen to on stage who have their own version of how to do something. So marketing itself is complicated. But not only that, but content itself is complicated. Whether you're talking about marketing content or content like a movie or a television show, it's very complicated to put together something an audience will actually like. That's why it's funny that we tell businesses that they should become publishers now and create media now and create an audience now, not realizing that most television shows that air in the fall will actually not be around for next year. Most movies that come out won't make money. Most artists that put out songs, no one listens to. So getting content right, actually making something that people will listen to, that will drive people to action, is very complicated. Now, everyone agrees that strategy is the answer to that complication. All these different moving pieces, you have to make sure that you're not just choosing one and going with it just because you like that one or you understand that tactic, or choosing something because it's popular, or choosing something because someone that you trust, said that you should go this way. That's not the strategic way of thinking. And if you ask anyone, strategy is the answer to taking something that's complicated, boiling it down, and getting your hands around it. But even though you read on every content marketing blog or podcast that strategy is the answer to this complicated world of content marketing, what is strategy and how do you actually do strategy? How do you actually write strategy? Again, if you sit down and try to actually write out a strategy, you end up with a 10-page, 20-page, 30-page document that no one else will read, whether your client or even yourself after you write it. If you sit down and try to make a PowerPoint, you find that that actually doesn't clarify things. Often it makes things more confusing. So not only is content marketing complicated, but strategy itself is complicated to actually put out there and write down and memorialize. So that's why I'm doing this webinar today. How to write a decent content marketing strategy. And not just write one, but write one quickly. So before you finish your coffee break, if you can write a content marketing strategy or at least sketch one out, then you've won. And if someone gives you feedback on it, and you can go back to the drawing board and come back with another one, and 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, you've won. If you take weeks to make a content marketing strategy, which I've actually seen folks take weeks to make one, then you've lost, because you could have gained more insights by actually just putting content out there and receiving feedback than just going into a room and making a strategy for weeks. However, it's not good enough to just put content out there and see what happens if it doesn't have strategy behind it, because you don't understand what you learn. All that you know is that someone read it or didn't, or clicked on it or didn't. But if you didn't have a strategy behind it, you don't really learn anything. So the answer is not just to create a content marketing strategy, but to do one quickly. And that's what I'm going to walk you through here. So a couple of things, a couple of promises for you if you stick with me through this webinar. And the first promise is I will bridge the gap for you for going from amateur content marketing strategist to a pro, from someone who just reads advice to someone who's actually doing it and doing it well, from someone who's just attempting it but in a clumsy way to someone who has a strategy that that is works well together, that galvanizes a team, that makes people excited, that makes clients excited. So this webinar will help to bridge that gap for you. The second thing is I'm going to give you a simple checklist, and this checklist is not just something I came up with this afternoon or this year or 2 years ago. This checklist for a content marketing strategy is everything I've learned with over a decade of experience in the entertainment industry and then in marketing. Everything that I've gleaned from other people, that I've learned from mentors, that I've tried and tested on actual clients, and it failed, and some of it worked. And I took out the stuff that doesn't work, put in the stuff that works, and you will be able to zoom ahead. You don't need a decade plus working in those two industries to understand how to make a content marketing strategy. You'll be able to leapfrog over me by taking what I've learned over a decade of experience and to put it into practice. So the third promise for you, if you stick with me, the third promise is I will give you a powerful framework that shows you how all the pieces fit together. So a checklist where you don't understand, that number 3 is affected by number 7 doesn't really work for you either. It's just a list of items. And I've seen that before where someone will list what they're doing with their content marketing, and they say, we are going to build awareness on Facebook using, infographics. And the build awareness part is on slide 3. And the we're going to use Facebook part is on slide 10. And we are going to we're going to use infographics is on slide 20. And when you go through it, you don't realize that, wait a minute, are we going to use advertising on Facebook? How have we seen someone successfully build awareness on Facebook using an infographic? How does that actually work? Does that actually work together? So this framework will show you how the pieces work together. So if you see a part that kind of sticks out, like this quite doesn't work in this in this strategy that I'm putting together, it will stick out like a sore thumb, and you'll be able to change it and change everything else around it. So that will become clearer when I show you it. But that's just promise number 3. You will get a powerful framework for making a content marketing strategy. Promise number 4 is that I will show you a 3-step process for getting client buy-in without watering down your strategy. And if you're currently working as a freelancer, if you're currently working at an agency, this is a huge pain point for you, I know. You come up with something brilliant, you come up with something innovative, something that your clients' customers will actually want. And then you give it to your client, and they say, nope, don't want to do this, don't want to do that, don't want to do this, and you're sunk. And you have to put out something that's watered down content with a watered down strategy, and it doesn't work, and then the client is angry. And I will actually show you a 3-step process for actually getting client buy-in, and I'm very excited about that one. And lastly, if you stick with me all the way to the end of this webinar, I will give you a download of a strategy template. And also, if you sign up for that download, I will give you personal feedback. If you fill out the template for yourself, for your client, I will give you personal feedback on your strategy. So you can not just use my experience through the checklist, but you can use my experience personally. So who am I? Who is this person actually speaking to you? So I am Hashim Warren. I am a content marketing specialist, and I actually started as a music journalist, then I worked in television, and then I moved on to marketing. So my story actually starts with doing content marketing before it was called content marketing. So not just marketing online, but actually building audiences for clients. So I had a few clients in the entertainment industry, like Sean Diddy Combs, who who released a new cologne called Unforgivable, and decided he wanted to do something more than just run banner ads and more than just promote it in traditional ways. So at the time, he came to the company I worked for and said, um, give me some type of marketing strategy that will, get people to know that this cologne exists and get them to buy it. So my boss asked me to come up with something, and I said, why don't we build a blog? And at that time, all content marketing that we knew of was just creating blogs. So let's create a blog about Unforgivable, and let's ask people to share their unforgivable romantic stories, times that they've been hurt. So did this for the Unforgivable cologne when it premiered. It was a huge seller for them, and I feel really proud of that work that I did there, especially because it was innovative for the time, and it was just exciting work. So another client had was Eminem. Eminem was releasing a greatest hits album, and he had all this content that he created himself by doing interviews for, I think it was MTV or MTV2, and he said, I have all this stuff. What can I do with it? Other than just allow it to be on this television show. So we took it and we created a blog for him, and he had his audience come there, and they followed it day after day until the album was released. Even though this content existed somewhere else on a TV show and video, people really loved the text. They loved leaving comments. They shared it with their friends. Another thing I'm very proud of. So for Russell Simmons, he was releasing a new startup called Global Grind, and I was one of the original employees there, or really a freelance there as a consultant to put together a content strategy for the web, particularly because the folks that they had, the journalists, weren't used to building an audience on the web, and how does that work, and how do you know if you're winning in that space. So did work for them, and felt really well. Actually, a lot of that work changed over time. So if you look at Global Grind now, don't blame me or give me props for anything, because a lot of that has changed. So, but another client I had, I actually worked for BET Networks, and this person was a host of one of the show that I worked on, 106 in Park, and 106 in Park had a big problem at the time, which was, how do we get people to watch a video countdown show when you can watch videos online, music videos, whenever you want to? So we decided to start putting out our own content to promote the show, and we started putting out content on Twitter, micro content. We started writing articles about the show, and lo and behold, the show had a 10-year hike in ratings, and did fantastic. And that was without changing the format of the show, without changing the host of the show. Just really unheard of for a variety show to have that type of spike in ratings after being on air that long without some dramatic change. The change was in how we marketed it, and we actually gained more followers online than what the ratings said we had in viewers. So I'm really, really proud of that. And lastly, did some work for the Oprah Winfrey Network. They hired the agency I was at. I was able to work on Oprah's account with personally what content she put out there as a brand personality, and also for her network. Now, some of these things, they were fantastic and they did really well. Some of them did all right. Some of them just completely bombed. Some of the things that I did didn't work. The things that didn't work, I didn't really put on the on these slides here. I just wanted to show you the things that worked at least somewhat well. But no matter whether something worked or not, I had a common problem, and that common problem was, every time we talked about the strategy, the content marketing strategy with a client or internally, it was a huge battle. It took a lot of time. We all spoke a different language. The designer worried about the form of it and how it looked, and the account manager worried about how we were going to measure it, and someone else worried about who we were targeting, and someone else, the project manager, worried about the resources and how many resources we were putting to it. And this caused a big headache for me. Each one of these places I worked at, absolutely stressed. you know, wanted to get out high quality work, wanted it to work for the audience we were building for clients, but it was also a huge headache. And I vowed after I worked in the Oprah Winfrey account that I was going to fix this, that I would no longer allow myself to have these long arguments where we're speaking a different language and all this other stuff. And it turned out that I was a huge reader of content marketing blogs and books and podcasts and all types of advice about content marketing. But even though I read plenty of list posts about content marketing, I couldn't find any framework for writing strategy. I wanted to write strategy in a way that we could all agree on, where we could all discuss, where we could all argue about, and make something great for both our clients and their clients' customers. But there was no framework for that. So I invented one myself. I made up a framework, tested it, gave it out to my friends, got hired at an agency, gave it out to the people I worked with at an agency, tested it on clients, showed clients, had workshops with clients where I used this framework, and everything was so much clearer. It went from things being up in the clouds for myself and coworkers, no matter where I worked, everything being a jumbled mess that we always had to wade through, to being a process that we followed in an orderly fashion. And now, writing a great content strategy doesn't mean that the strategy actually works. It just means that you can do it quicker. You can do it on your lunch break, like I promised. And also, once you put it out there, once you actually put the content in front of that audience, you can it's easier to figure out what didn't work, which part of that strategy didn't work, so you can revise it and come back again. So a process where in the past it took a long time to create, and then you put up the content, and then it took a long time and a lot of arguing and to figure out what went wrong, and then a lot of arguing and time to figure out how we were going to change it. Now we have something where we could turn on a dime and put out different content with a different strategy and then win. So it doesn't help you tell the future. It more kind of gives you more chances to win in the future. So did this strategy actually get results? I have a few people who I worked with who say yes, the strategy did get results, and these are a few folks who left recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. You can see here, this person talked about me doing content marketing, and they mentioned that for one client we worked with, I increased the client's website visits by 47%. And what she doesn't mention here is that the client, their business is lead-based. They receive leads and they convert those leads into customers. Their leads went up 37%, and this was just quarter over quarter. So now, not just that, not only did the process I had get results for clients, but it did it in a way that didn't stress people out. So this person here was talking about my background in journalism, which came to bear with me making these content marketing strategies. But he says I took stress in stride. So he obviously didn't know me back when I was incredibly stressed out doing work for clients and trying to put out content that would actually work. So I am going to show you this framework, and we're going to walk through it. But before I show you the actual framework itself, there's a couple of things you should know about what makes a great content strategy. And the first thing is it's simple. A good content strategy is simple. There is I am greatly inspired by music notation, and if you think about the world before there was music notation, writing music or making music was complicated. You had to memorize things. You had to copy what came before you. You find that cultures that have not adopted music notation, you find that there's elements that stick with the local music, and I believe that's because it's harder to innovate when you don't have a simple way to record it. Now, some people shy away from things that are simple because they feel like, wait a minute, content marketing strategy is complicated. We do know it's complicated. We embrace that it's complicated. How can you have a framework that's simple represent something that's complicated? And my argument is that unless it's simple, it's not useful for writing a strategy. You don't want to take something that's complicated and make a tool that's also complicated to use it. So the second thing is a great content strategy or content marketing strategy is comprehensive. So if you put the strategy out and some analytics guy says, wait a minute, you forgot about how the KPIs and how we will measure it. That's a huge fail. It should be comprehensive. Everything that you need to think about should be in there. Everything that you have to, all the bases need to be covered by your strategy. And the third thing is, I'm going to say this word because I worked at an agency, so of course I love the word synergy. It has to be synergy-tastic. All the parts have to work together, as we talked about earlier. You can't do you can't choose a channel like email to send out your content and expect something else from it. Like, I don't know. Let's talk about awareness again. Email is just not a great place for awareness. And if you want to get awareness, I've seen clients do this. They want to get awareness from email, so they purchase a list and they spam people and they say, "Bingo, we have awareness." It just doesn't work. It doesn't work together. So your strategy has to be synergy-tastic. Now, here is a little preview of what the framework looks like, and I actually adopted the business model canvas because they released it. They released it to let anyone use and adapt, and I actually adapted it for content marketing strategy. Some of it has changed visually, and also what each box represents has changed, but this is basically the grandfather of the content marketing strategy. So with this strategy, by using this framework right here that you see next to the simple, comprehensive, synergy-tastic, you can achieve all these different things by having a one-page uh, f- uh, a one-page document for your strategy, not a 30-page deck where you get into deck hell, or not a memo that you write over the course of a month, but a one-page document that shows your complete strategy. Now you can actually create a document after that, or a deck after that, but with this process I'm going to show you, everything goes onto one page. So let's look at how this works, and then we'll dive into the actual boxes. So now we see on the left side, you'll put all the elements that involves your content, the content itself, and we have the hook of your content and the form that your content will take and the channel your content will live in. All of that on that left side is the content itself. Now, here's the part that people who are creatives forget. If you're a writer, usually all you care about is the content itself. Make the content awesome. But if you look at the right side, that's where we talk about the market. That's where we talk about the persona that you're going after, the target that you're going after. That's where we talk about the action that you want that persona to take, and that's also where we talk about the stage of the buying cycle that you are going to appeal to that customer at. And so if the content side and the market side work together, if you have a plan that works on both sides, then down in the middle, the metrics go up, and that's where the business comes into play. So again, if the content and the market work together well, then all the metrics, they go up and to the left. But we see on the left side of metrics, you have resources. What resources is the business willing to put towards this content? And also we see the outcomes. What outcomes are they expecting from this content? So again, 10 years plus in the business, these 9 boxes represent everything that anyone has ever talked about when it comes to content, when it comes to content marketing. You've covered all of your bases. If you just take this list and use it as a checklist, you've covered everything that you need to talk about. But in terms of all of this working together, like we talked about earlier, let's take a look. Let's take an example from making movies. Now, if you make a movie, you have the movie itself, and that's the actual content, and actors are concerned with that. So you see on the left side here, actors. But there's all this stuff happening behind the scenes of a movie. So you have the actual production of a movie, and that's what producers care about. Um, the lighting and when will it be released and all those different things. The producers care about those things, and then you have the studio, and they care. Hey, did this thing make money? Did we spend too much money on it? And how are we going to measure success for it? Are we waiting for DVD sales to see if we make our money back? Will we make our money back by making a sequel? This is how uh, film works, and you as a content marketing strategist should adopt that same thinking that's been working for film for a very long time to your own content. So everything should work together in these three boxes, and that's how this framework works. Uh, you're not just listing things, but you're actually putting them in the place that they belong. So let's take a deep dive into the actual boxes themselves so you can see how each one works. And the first one we'll look at is the hook. So the hook is the big idea that will grab and hold attention for your audience. So this is still on the content side, and when you figure out your hook, you want to find what will actually matter to your audience, what will actually resonate with your audience, what's uniquely valuable to your audience. And an example of this is, let's say I was creating content for someone who for someone who sells a workshop on networking. Maybe the hook for the content that they put out to promote this workshop will be networking that won't make you feel like a slime ball. So that also kind of works as a headline, but the hook is just kind of the topic that you're going after, the story that you're going after. So the next thing I want to show you is the form. So the form is what type of media you're using. Are you using video? Are you using graphics? And also the type of media you're using. So, or the genre of the story. So it could be a Q&A article. So that's an article, but the type of article is Q&A. So you actually combine your hook and your form, and that's how you would that's one of the ways that you plan your content here. So the next thing is your channel. So the channel is where will it be published. Also, how will it be promoted? So you have the place that it lives, and you have the place that you're trying to get people from to visit the content. So maybe you'll have blog posts promoted through Twitter hashtags, or a YouTube video that's optimized to appear in search, or a YouTube video that's optimized to appear on your blog. So the channel, you plan the channel in that box here. The next thing is the persona. And the persona is the target that you want to reach. And maybe you want to reach an IT manager, or maybe you want to reach a single mom. Now, let's pause on this right here. There's actually a reason why I put hook and persona next to each other. And there's a reason why those are the largest boxes in this content strategy. And this is something that you really want to take note of. If you get everything else wrong in your content marketing strategy, if you can't figure out what channel to put it in, or what resources you're putting to it, or even what metrics you're measuring it by, the two things that you want to get right are the hook and the persona. The person you're reaching and the story you're telling. You can pretty much ignore everything else. You can hand that off to someone else. But your job as a content strategist, your main job, is to figure out the hook and the persona. And the boxes that are next to them support those two things. But that correct story with that correct person, magic happens there. That's where you really find success with your content. When you're retooling a content strategy, or content marketing strategy, when you're taking something that's not working, a lot of people like to focus on the channel. Hey, this is appearing in search. Let's optimize it for search better. Or hey, this is appearing in Facebook. Let's use Facebook's tools to promote it a little better. That will actually get you 3% uplift in your metrics, 4%, 10% uptick in your metrics. Or some people try to focus on the form. Okay, we made a blog post. Let's make it into a slideshow, or let's make it into a video. Maybe we can find more success there. Um, I would actually, from experience, I can tell you that nothing will give you better success than to retool your hook and also retool the persona that you're going after. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is just optimizing for secondary things. The heart that you want to get to is making your hook work with your persona. Got it? Great. So the next thing I want to look at is the stage. Which stages of the buyer's journey will you reach? Let's say you want to reach someone in the awareness stage or the decision stage. That affects the channel that you'll put this content in. It affects the form that it'll take. It affects the hook that you should use. It affects the persona that you'll go after. It affects the resources that you go after. As a matter of fact, each one of these boxes affects all of the other um, boxes here. And again, this is how we find synergy with your content strategy. You have to make sure that each tactic that you put into the strategy, resonates and supports all the others. And stage is one of those where you can find that example. Lastly is action. What next step does your persona need to take in order to move down down that funnel or that buyer's journey? Do they need to download something? Do they need to subscribe somewhere? Do you want them to share something? What will bring them from awareness to decision? What will bring them from awareness to discovery even? Uh, Action is the place that you want to figure that out. Now, let's look at resources. What will it cost to produce? How much time will be spent? I find that folks who are writing content marketing strategies for themselves, number one, they usually don't write a strategy for themselves. They usually write just a list of tactics, and I've been there. Um, but even when they write a list of tactics, they forget to write the resources. How much time will you spend on your podcast? How much time will you spend on your blog post? How much money are you willing to spend? It shouldn't be something where a new opportunity comes up. So yes, I'm going to spend money on Pinterest ads. You should actually have a budget for that. You should have a budget for your time, and you'll see that if you decide that the only amount of time that you can spend that week promoting your business using content is 3 hours, it completely changes what you should do. It completely changes the persona that you want to go after. It changes the form of your content. You don't have enough time to produce something very complicated. It changes the channel that you should go into. Maybe you should use a channel that will give you results over time, like search, but not go to a channel that demands you to spend 30 minutes a day there, massaging it like Facebook. So particularly for folks who are writing content marketing strategies for yourself, resources is a place that you should focus on. Uh, let's go to the next one, outcomes. And outcomes is the business outcome that you want. So it's not just the outcome of the content, like I want 30 more like I want 30 more subscribers. It's more, what will those subscribers bring you? I want an uptick in sales. I want better brand recognition. And then your content marketing strategy should actually support that. And how do you know if all of this is working? How do you know if the resources that you're putting in are bringing you the outcomes that you expect? How do you know that you're getting ROI from this? We have the metrics box, and that's actually where you measure where everything is working. And metrics is, sometimes it's very difficult to figure out, but it's a place where I myself have to kind of park and say, you know what, I am not leaving this strategy session until I figure out how can I measure what's going on. Sometimes I find that the best measurement for something is not how many page views I received or how many downloads I received, but I measure it in the same way a television show measures their success, which is did this episode cause people to watch the show after us? Were we a good lead-in for the next show? And also, did they come back next week? did the cliffhanger we present in the show, did the character growth that we presented in the show, did it cause people to feel like they should come back next week? So, so metrics is a difficult one to put your thumb on, but it's a place, or at least it is for me. But it's a place where if I don't figure it out, then I have a strategy that falls apart. So now we went through a lot. We went through the overall content marketing strategy, and you see how each part plays, both the content and the market and the business. And also we went through each box here, so you see each element of a strategy that you need to figure out. We also talked about some examples of a content marketing strategy, and a lot of this might be tough to grasp, especially if you've seen it for the first time. So I have some help for you. And here's what I have. So I have a new website, contentpov.com, where you can actually download the template. You can view examples of content marketing strategies, and you can get feedback from me. So once you download the template, it will come to you over email. You can fill out for yourself and based on the examples that I send you. And next time you write one for yourself or for a client, or even if you practice with one, if you send it to me, I'll give you feedback on it. And when you go to contentpov.com, it will actually forward you right to this page here where you can download the template. So so if you want the template that you can download, I have it as a PDF. If you want examples, and also if you want help and feedback on your content marketing strategy, just visit contentpov.com and you'll be able to get help from me. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.